Sir, you need to move to the back. This section is for our premium passengers only. The flight attendant's voice carried across the cabin as cameras started rolling. Marcus Chen looked up from his phone, his expression unchanged. He wore faded jeans, a gray hoodie, and carried a worn leather briefcase. Nothing about him screamed wealth or power. To everyone watching, he was just another passenger being told he didn't belong. The woman standing over him, Sarah Mitchell, tapped her tablet impatiently. "Sir, did you hear me? You're in the wrong section." Marcus held up his boarding pass. "Seat 1A. First class." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "That has to be a mistake. Let me see your ID." Around them, 12 passengers had their phones out. Twitter user @Skywatcher was already live tweeting the confrontation. Have you ever watched someone's entire world change in 45 minutes? Because these real-life stories and black stories show how touching stories can become life stories that reshape entire industries. The departure board above Gate 23 flashed red. Flight 447 to Chicago. Boarding complete in 37 minutes. Sarah examined Marcus's boarding pass like it was counterfeit currency. Her colleague, Jessica, approached from the galley. "Problem?" Jessica whispered, loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. "This gentleman seems confused about his seat assignment," Sarah replied, her tone suggesting Marcus was either lying or incompetent. Marcus remained seated, buckled in, briefcase at his feet. "Ma'am, I understand there might be confusion. Could you please check your system?" Sarah's fingers flew across her tablet. She frowned, tapped it again, then shook her head. "Sir, our records show you purchased an economy ticket. You'll need to move to your correct seat in coach." "That's incorrect," Marcus said quietly. He pulled out his phone and showed her his mobile boarding pass. "First class, seat 1A. Paid for 3 weeks ago." An elderly white man in seat 2A leaned forward. "Son, maybe you should just take your real seat. No need to cause trouble." Sarah nodded approvingly. "Exactly. Sir, are you sure you didn't mean to book coach? These mistakes happen when people aren't familiar with the booking process." The condescension hung in the air like smoke. Marcus's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. He reached into his briefcase and retrieved a platinum airline status card, placing it on the tray table. 340,000 miles flown with Atlantic Airways, he said. Platinum status for 6 consecutive years. Sarah barely glanced at it. "Anyone can get those cards online now. Sir, I'm going to need you to gather your belongings and move to your assigned seat." Skywatcher's fingers moved rapidly across her phone screen. Live, black passenger being systematically humiliated on Atlantic Airways Flight 447. "This is insane. Atlantic discrimination." The tweet was retweeted 47 times in 2 minutes. Captain James Rodriguez emerged from the cockpit. At 52, he commanded respect through presence alone. His silver hair was perfectly styled, his uniform pressed to military precision. "What's the situation?" he asked Sarah, not looking at Marcus. "Passenger in the wrong seat, won't move to coach where he belongs." Rodriguez sized up Marcus with a glance. Hoodie, jeans, sneakers. His assessment was immediate and wrong. "Sir, you're holding up departure. I need you to take your correct seat immediately." Marcus looked up calmly. "Captain, I'm in my correct seat. First class, 1A. Here's my boarding pass, my ID, and my frequent flyer card." Rodriguez didn't look at any of them. "Son, I've been flying for 15 years. I know when someone's trying to scam an upgrade." "Sarah, call ground security." The passengers in first class shifted uncomfortably. A woman in 3B started recording with her phone. A businessman in 4A looked up from his laptop, frowning. Marcus pulled out his phone and began recording. "For the record, it's 2:47 p.m., Flight 447. I'm being asked to leave my paid first-class seat, despite having proper documentation. Sir, put that phone away, Rodriguez commanded. You're being disruptive. I'm documenting discrimination, Marcus replied evenly. Sarah was already on her radio. Ground control, we need security at gate 23. Passenger refusing to comply with crew instructions. The man in 2A shook his head. Just move to coach, buddy. You're making this harder than it needs to be. But the woman in 3B spoke up. Wait, he showed you his boarding pass. Why aren't you checking it? Sarah's face reddened. Ma'am, please don't interfere. This gentleman clearly purchased an economy ticket and is trying to get a free upgrade. How do you know that? The woman pressed. Experience, Sarah replied curtly. Marcus made a phone call. The conversation was brief, his voice low. Yeah, I'm running late. Start without me. I'll handle this personally. Rodriguez overheard. Handle what? Sir, who are you calling? Marcus didn't answer. He was taking notes on his phone, documenting every word, every action. At Skywatcher's follower count jumped by 300 as her live stream gained traction. Comments flooded in. This is 2025. How is this still happening? Sue them. Record everything. The gate agent's voice echoed through the terminal. Final boarding call for Flight 447 to Chicago. All remaining passengers, please board immediately. 2 security officers approached. Mike Santos, a 20-year veteran, and Lisa Chen, no relation to Marcus despite the shared surname. What's the problem? Santos asked. Rodriguez pointed at Marcus. Passenger in wrong seat, refusing to move, being disruptive. Santos looked at the scene. A well-dressed man sitting calmly in first class, surrounded by crew members and passengers with phones out. Sir, can I see your boarding pass? Marcus handed it over without protest. Santos examined it carefully, compared it to Marcus's ID, then looked at his radio. This shows first class, seat 1A, Santos said to Rodriguez. It's clearly fraudulent, Sarah interjected. He's trying to scam an upgrade. Santos looked at her skeptically. Ma'am, these boarding passes come directly from your system. How would it be fraudulent? Sarah faltered. Well, these people know how to manipulate the system. The words hung in the air. Even passengers who hadn't been paying attention looked up. These people wasn't subtle. Marcus remained perfectly still, but his eyes met Santos's. The security officer had heard those words before, understood their meaning. Sir, Santos said to Marcus, would you mind stepping off the aircraft for a moment, just to verify everything with the gate agent? It was a reasonable request delivered respectfully. Marcus nodded and stood. As he gathered his briefcase, his phone buzzed. A text message flashed briefly on the screen before he closed it. The woman in 3B caught a glimpse. Board meeting moved to conference room A, emergency session. She frowned, wondering what kind of emergency board meeting a coach passenger would know about. The departure board now showed Flight 447 delayed 23 minutes. Ground Supervisor Janet Williams arrived at Gate 23 with purposeful strides. She'd been with Atlantic Airways for 12 years, worked her way up from baggage handler to supervisor. She prided herself on handling difficult situations. What's the hold-up? She asked Santos. Passenger verification, he replied, handing her Marcus's documents. Janet examined everything with theatrical thoroughness. Boarding pass, ID, frequent flyer card. She looked from the documents to Marcus, then back to the documents. Mr. Chen, these appear to be in order. However, given the crew's concerns about your behavior, I think it's best if we reseat you in coach for this flight. Marcus's voice remained level. What behavior? I was sitting quietly in my assigned seat. You are being argumentative with the flight crew. I was providing documentation when they claimed I was in the wrong seat. Janet's expression hardened. Sir, arguing with me won't help your cause. You can take your assigned coach seat, or you can take the next flight. Those are your options. Back on the plane, at Skywatcher's live stream had exploded. The hashtag Atlantic Airways discrimination was trending. Her viewer count hit 1,500 and climbing. Her commentary was running live. They've forced him off the plane now. This man has a first-class ticket, showed multiple forms of ID, and they're treating him like a criminal. This is what discrimination looks like in 2025? Comments poured in faster than she could read them. Save this video as evidence. What's his name? He needs a lawyer. Atlantic Airways stock is going to tank. Someone find out who this guy is. Inside the terminal, other passengers from the flight had gathered to watch. Several were recording. A teenage girl was streaming on TikTok. A businessman was updating his LinkedIn feed. Marcus looked at his watch. A habit, perhaps, but Janet noticed it was expensive. Very expensive. More than her monthly salary expensive. Sir, I need your decision. Coach seat or next flight? May I speak with your district manager? Marcus asked. Janet laughed. The district manager? Sir, I'm the senior supervisor on duty. I have full authority here. I understand your position, Marcus replied. However, I'd like to escalate this to your district manager. You can file a complaint online like everyone else. Several first-class passengers had come out to watch. The woman from 3B, now identified as Dr. Patricia Voss, stepped forward. Excuse me, but I was on that plane. This man was sitting quietly in his seat. He showed his boarding pass, his ID, everything. Why exactly is he being removed? Janet turned to her. Ma'am, this is between us and Mr. Chen. Please return to your seat. I'm a paying customer too, Dr. Voss replied. And I'm witnessing what appears to be discrimination. A businessman from first class joined her. I saw the whole thing. The flight attendant never checked his documents properly. She just assumed he was in the wrong seat. Janet felt the situation slipping away from her. More passengers were gathering, phones were everywhere. She needed to reassert control. Sir, she said to Marcus, you can take the coach seat I'm offering, or you can leave the airport. Those are your only options. Marcus pulled out his phone and made another call. This one lasted 47 seconds. His voice was too low for most people to hear, but Dr. Voss was close enough to catch fragments. Urgency board meeting, conference room A. Now. Dr. Voss frowned. Board meeting? Marcus ended the call and addressed the gathered crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this delay. I know you all want to get to Chicago on time. His tone was different now, more authoritative. Several passengers noticed the change. Janet sensed something shifting. Sir, who are you calling? My office. Marcus replied simply. Your office? Marcus reached into his briefcase and withdrew a business card holder. He selected one card and handed it to Janet. She read it, and her face went pale. Marcus Chen, Chief Executive Officer, Chen Industries. The gathered passengers pressed closer, trying to see. Dr. Voss read over Janet's shoulder and gasped. Oh my God, she whispered. The businessman from first class pulled out his phone and started Googling. His eyes widened as he read. Holy shit, he muttered. Chen Industries, they're worth billions. At Skywatcher caught the exchange on her live stream. Wait. Did someone just say billions? Chat, what's happening? Who is Chen Industries? Her viewers were already researching. Chen Industries just announced a $2.4 billion revenue year. They own like 847 companies. This guy isn't just some random passenger. Atlantic Airways is about to get sued into oblivion. Janet stared at the business card. Her hands were shaking slightly. Mr. Chen, This doesn't change anything. You were being disruptive. But her voice lacked conviction now. Marcus looked at his watch again. In about 3 minutes, you're going to receive a call from your headquarters. I suggest you answer it. What kind of call? The kind that comes from your board of directors. The crowd had grown to about 30 people. Airport security was trying to manage the situation, but the live streams were multiplying. Atlantic Airways discrimination had over 2,000 tweets now. Captain Rodriguez appeared, looking flustered. "What's going on out here? We need to depart." Santos filled him in quietly. Rodriguez's expression changed as he listened. "CEO of what?" Rodriguez asked. "Chin Industries," Santos replied. "Major corporation, billions in revenue." Rodriguez looked at Marcus with new eyes. The hoodie and jeans didn't look so casual anymore. They looked like the outfit of someone who didn't need to impress anyone. Janet's radio crackled. "Supervisor Williams, please contact headquarters immediately. Priority 1. She looked at Marcus, who checked his watch again. "Right on schedule," he said quietly. Dr. Voss stepped closer to Marcus. "Sir, I'm sorry this happened to you. This is completely unacceptable." "Thank you," Marcus replied. "But this isn't about me anymore." "What do you mean?" Marcus looked around at the crowd, at the phones recording everything, at the airport security trying to manage a situation that had grown beyond their control. This is about making sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. At Skywatcher's live stream viewer count hit 3,000. Major news outlets were starting to pick up the story. Atlantic Airways' stock price, which had been stable all day, dropped by 1.2% in the last 15 minutes. Janet's radio crackled again. "Supervisor Williams, CEO Patricia Vance needs to speak with you immediately." Janet looked at Marcus, then at the business card in her hand, then at the crowd of witnesses recording everything. "This is about to get very interesting," Dr. Voss muttered to the businessman beside her. Marcus opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. Inside were documents that would change everything. "Actually," he said to Janet, "there's something else you should know." The crowd leaned in, sensing that whatever came next would be the moment everything changed. Marcus's phone buzzed with a text. "Board is assembled, awaiting your call." He looked up at Janet, at Captain Rodriguez, at Sarah, who had joined them from the plane. "Shall we discuss this inside? I think you're going to want privacy for this conversation." The gate area had transformed into an impromptu amphitheater. Passengers sat on chairs, stood against windows, and leaned against pillars. The live streams had multiplied. At Skywatcher now had 4,000 viewers. 3 other passengers were streaming simultaneously. Marcus stood calmly in the center, his briefcase open, documents arranged methodically on a nearby chair. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice carrying easily across the space. "I want to apologize for the delay. I know many of you have connections to make, families to see, business to conduct." Janet Williams stood frozen, Patricia Vance's direct number displayed on her phone screen. She hadn't made the call yet. "Before we resolve this situation," Marcus continued, "I think everyone deserves to understand what's really happening here." He pulled out a leather portfolio and opened it. The first document was a stock ownership certificate. 6 months ago, Chen Industries acquired a 23% stake in Atlantic Airways. The words hit the crowd like a physical force. Gasps, muttered curses, someone saying, "No way," loud enough for everyone to hear. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. "That's impossible. I would have heard about a major acquisition like that." Marcus looked at him calmly. "Captain Rodriguez, you've been with Atlantic Airways for 15 years. Excellent safety record, by the way. I've reviewed your file." Rodriguez's face went white. "You've reviewed my file?" "Chen Industries reviews all key personnel files for companies in our investment portfolio. Standard due diligence." Sarah Mitchell, who had been lurking at the edge of the crowd, suddenly understood the magnitude of what had just happened. She'd discriminated against someone who effectively owned nearly a quarter of the airline. Dr. Voss was recording with her phone, but she lowered it slightly. "Mr. Chen, are you saying you